Okay, shall we?
We shall.
Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to our online meeting for the month. It is really a wonderful experience having to see people from around the world joining in our Toastmasters meeting from the comfort of their homes. I can assure you that today is going to be a wonderful experience. This next couple of minutes is going to be great. We're going to be learning a lot because we'll be having some very insightful speech from our distinguished Toastmaster, and we'll be getting to listen also to inspirational speeches, inspirational thoughts from our VPPR, amongst others. So while we are going to be going through this next couple of minutes, let's keep our expectations up. Let us keep our hearts open. And I can assure us that it's going to be a wonderful moment. So once again, welcome to everybody from wherever we are, from the comfort of our homes. The group, the Eagle Toastmasters group, we feel very happy having you. And so you're most welcome. And now I'll be introducing our Vice President Public Relations, who will usher us into this session with the inspirational theme for this meeting. Over to you, VPPR.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Welcome to the first online meeting of the Eagle Toastmasters Club. We're happy to have you here. The theme for our club this month has been Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And throughout this month, we've been exploring a common fear among people, a fear that's also known as glossophobia, which is the fear of public speaking. And in line with our theme, we plan not just to feel that fear, to experience that fear, but to conquer it. It was Nelson Mandela who said that the brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. And we plan to do so. We plan to do so by arming ourselves with tips on how to recognize when you feel afraid to speak in public, when you get jitters, your breathing increases, you lose your train of thought, and how to manage that fear. And our resource person, our immediate past president, a recent recipient of the Distinguished Toastmaster Award. He's a multi-award winning Quintessential Polymath, and he's the current director of Area 17. And he's going to be speaking to us today about overcoming the fear of public speaking. Before he begins, I just want to give a few housekeeping rules. If you have questions during this session, please put them in the chat box, which is to the right of your screen. And there'll be a section during the meeting for us to address those questions that you may have. So hang in there, sit tight, and I'm going to hand over the room to our Toastmaster and our online resource person for today, Oladele Olunike, the Quintessential Polymath, and the Distinguished Toastmaster.
Good evening, everybody online today at the first online meeting for the 2017-2018 Toastmasters year. I must thank Madam Vice President Public Relations, Toastmaster Ezekiel Pamela Maseli, for those very kind words. If this was a face-to-face meeting, I would have asked that we all give her a round of applause. But all the same, we appreciate her for those very kind words. Today, as Madam Vice President Public Relations has given us the opener, we will be looking at a very, very crucial topic. And as we speak, I'll be sharing my presentation shortly on the screen. Kindly let me know when we all can see it. Can we all see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
All right. I need our responses. Can we all see my screen? All right. If you can you please show by raise of hand? Thank you. Toastmaster Chikudum, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
All right. There is a new person joining us whose identity I can see as Toner. Mr. Toner, can you see my screen? All right, he's trying to get himself ready. Stephen, can you see my screen? Timothy Aderemi, can you see my screen? All right, so ladies and gentlemen, let's begin. I've been appropriately introduced. In addition to the very kind words that you heard about me, I'm also a personal, career, business, effectiveness, and executive coach. Overcoming the fear of public speaking is our subject of discuss today. And without sounding like a broken record, it is a very, very important subject. Regardless of your profession, regardless of your occupation, regardless of your interest in whatever field of life, the ability to be able to speak effectively in public has become an inevitable skill that everyone needs to have. It doesn't have to do with you wanting to earn a living from speaking before you know how to be able to speak in public. So I'd like to ask us before we go ahead, this session is going to be interactive. There'll be teaching on the side and there'll be sharing on the side. So I would really appreciate your engagement. So let me ask you quickly, what do you expect during this session? And each of us can quickly take turns to respond, because I believe in the aphorism that says, expectation is the mother of manifestation. And I also believe that what you don't expect, never expect to experience. So who's going to bail the cat? What do you expect during this session? Anybody? Is somebody keeping malice with me here?
I'm going to unmute your mics.
All right.
I'm going to unmute sort of everybody so we can all have we can all contribute.
All right. So I rephrase my question. My question is, what do you expect during this session? Because what you don't expect, never expect to experience. So who is going to be the first contributor? What do you expect during this session? Anybody?
Okay, I'll start.
All right, please go ahead.
Okay. So I expect to get some tips or tools that I can use in moments when I find myself afraid to speak in public. All right. I have to heart that I'll just remember that, oh wow, I remember that I heard this at the online meeting, and I can use to help overcome my fear.
All right. Thank you very much, Madam Vice President, Public Relations. Any other person? What do you expect during this session? Yes, Toastmaster Chikudum Chukwuede.
Okay, so for me, I like to think that I'm still on a very long journey to becoming a great public speaker, especially because I see every opportunity to speak with more than 2 people as public speaking. And sometimes I have so much in my head, but by the time it comes out and fizzles into the air. So I am hoping that from this session, I'll be able to get tips that I can leverage on, especially when I can literally feel the taste of my heart when I want to say something. So things like that, yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chikudum. Right, we will go on right now whilst others will contribute as we move along. Now, let me help us to frame our expectation. Having talked about what we expect, let us look at what to expect. These are the objectives I intend to cover with us in the course of this session. 1, to help you, the participants, develop professional speaking and or presentation skills for personal, career, and business or workplace effectiveness. That is one objective we're going to achieve. Secondly, this session will help you, the participant, to overcome the limiting fear. The limiting fear, or in other words, the limiting phobia of professional speaking. This session will help you, the participant, to overcome the limiting. Please take note of the functional word limiting, because really, quite a number of people have faults to express. They are bubbling with ideas, but because there is a phobia of speaking before a people, they are limited. Lastly, we hope to achieve to help you, the participant, take advantage of polished speaking skills to improve your life and work performance, which is very critical. At the end of the day, as you and I go ahead to faithfully, diligently, and dedicatedly implement the tips, easy to apply tips that we will be sharing during this session, the following are expected to happen. One, you will be able to overcome the phobia of professional speaking or speaking in public before an audience. Two, you'll be able to speak professionally before an audience for personal career and business success. Three, you will be able to use professional speaking skills to enhance effectiveness and productivity in private life, and very importantly, at work or at business or informal settings. Also, you'll be able to improve as you committedly, diligently, and assiduously implement the tips we'll be sharing during this session. Very easy to apply tips, on-the-go tips. You'll be able to improve your performance personally and professionally. Number 5, you also become a very confident and an assertive person. One of the subtle, often not known or overlooked benefits of the ability to be able to communicate your thoughts with polish, poise, and panache is that you gain a level of confidence that becomes so admirable that helps you to achieve other things in your life that hitherto you have not been able to achieve. And finally, you will become a better and more fulfilled person. So these are the promises that I'm giving you during this session. A Chinese proverb says, a picture speaks 1,000 words. I want us to look at the picture on the screen. Can we all see my screen still? Can we show by raise of hand if we can see my screen? All right, thank you very kindly. So we have overcoming the fear of public speaking, and we can see the look on that face. Who can tell me what that look is? Yes, anybody?
Fear.
Fear, thank you. What else?
Fright.
Fright, thank you. One more contribution, please. All right, while we're expecting that contribution, I want us to look at this picture. This is the picture of Carnegie Institute and Technical School, Shenley Park in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Please, can we mute our mics or as we're coming in so that the background noise does not come into the presentation? Thank you. As far back as the 1970s, ladies and gentlemen, did you know that Carnegie Institute of Technology in the United States of America, they were curious. They wanted to know, what is that singular ability? What is that singular attribute? What is that singular quality that makes a person, an individual, an organization, a team, a group, a department, an organization to excel phenomenally in personal, professional, and public life, so that the person will stand out in leadership and differentiation? When they went into research over a period of 2 decades, they postulated that 15% of a person's personal, professional, and public life success is achieved by technical skills. So if you're a lawyer, if you're an engineer, if you're an English expert, if you're a trainer, if you're an executive coach, if you're an aeronautic engineer, whatever your field is, Carnegie Institute of Technology, as far back as 1970, found out that the core competencies that you acquired during your course in the university will help you to succeed to a tune of 15%. Now, when we talk about percentages, usually 100 is the total. So when you take 15 from 100, you find out that you have 85%. Now, they discovered that 85% of a person's personal, professional, and public life success is accounted for amazingly by what we call social or soft skill. And chief amongst them is the communication skill. This is how they put it. Look at what is on the screen. Carnegie Institute of Technology said, and I quote verbatim, 85% of your financial success is due to your personality and ability to communicate, negotiate, and lead. 85% of your financial success is due to your personality, which some of us will call your etiquette and modern business manners, your social graces. Furthermore, your ability to communicate. Furthermore, your ability to negotiate and ability to lead. But look at what they said finally in the last sentence. Shockingly, only 55% of your financial success is due to technical knowledge. Isn't that startling? Isn't that revealing? Isn't that thought-provoking? What does all of these have to do with our thought for today? The subject of public speaking is situated in communication as a broader subject. Public speaking is only a fraction of communication, so it's important for us to build this foundation. It must also be noted that from time immemorial, and especially in the 21st century global business world that we live and work in today, the ability to communicate effectively is the #1 skill required for personal, professional, or workplace and public life success. It may also interest you, ladies and gentlemen, that recruitment consultants, human resource experts, and behavioral scientists have unanimously agreed, based on their years of experiences engaging with their clients, that people who must succeed in the workplace come to the workplace with more than technical skills. People require social or soft skills. And they also unanimously agree that chief amongst this is the communication skill. Furthermore, another survey says a whopping 96% of an individual's or a team's or an organization's success is largely dependent on how well that individual or team or organization can communicate its vision, mission, goals, values, objectives to its staff and customers. So I'd like to ask each and every one of us today, have you found yourself in that boat where you felt, I'm a chemical engineer, I'm a design engineer, I'm a lawyer, I'm a pilot. What do I need public speaking for? What do I need communication for? I was privileged to be facilitating at a management retreat of an organization some weeks ago. And after this session, after my session, one of the management members met me and said, I have this challenge with my team members. They feel that the ability to communicate and speak before an audience is not necessary for them to excel in the workplace. And I said to that lovely lady, I said, we need to change the perspectives of our people to understand, according to what the American thinker Alvin Toffler said. He said, the 21st century illiterate is not the one who has not gone to school or the university, like my grandmother who passed on 7 years ago at the age of 92, but the one who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So many of us need to unlearn, relearn, and continue to learn so that we are up to date with what is going on. So we're looking at overcoming the fear of public speaking. The question I want to ask quickly is, how do you define public speaking? Because it's important to get on the same page so that we don't assume, because assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. Let me quickly define public speaking as any speaking craft that requires that you speak before an audience. It is often live before an audience or through an electronic media. There are quite a gamut of professions, occupations, and or vocations that can be classified under public speaking. So please listen to me very carefully, because I'm going to unfold something that may be new to some of us and may shock the understanding of what many of us have had as far as public speaking is concerned. Ladies and gentlemen, when people use the terminology public speaking, first and foremost, it is incorrect for someone to address him or herself as a public speaker. What is often referred to when public speaking is mentioned is actually professional speaking. Remember I said there are a gamut of professions, occupations, and vocations classified under public speaking. For instance, when you speak before an audience as a professional speaker who earns his daily living from speaking, you are speaking as a branch in a branch of public speaking. A comedian is in a branch or operates in a branch of public speaking. A broadcaster who speaks over the radio, over the TV, or through a live webinar, as we're doing right now, is speaking in a branch of public speaking. Think of an actor on the stage speaking before an audience live is in a branch of public speaking. So no one person can say, I am a public speaker, except, of course, you're a Superman who operates in all of those aspects of public speaking that I've mentioned. So let us get that very, very importantly from the beginning. What is often intended or referred to ignorantly is professional speaking. A professional speaker, therefore, is someone who is a professionally trained individual in the art, A-R-T, an actor speaking professionally to inform, instruct, and inspire or educate and entertain and, of course, elevate an audience, often before a live audience. So let's look at what we call the fear of public speaking. Or better still, from henceforth, we'll be addressing this as the fear of professional speaking. The other word for fear is phobia. Phobia. Fear of professional speaking. As we heard earlier in the introduction of our Vice President Public Relations, Toastmaster Maseli, the word for fear of professional speaking is glossophobia. Glossophobia, which is the fear of standing before an audience to speak. Glossophobia. There is a popular saying which says, glossophobia is so serious that an average American at a funeral will prefer to be the body in the casket than be the one giving the eulogy. An average American will prefer to be the dead body, the corpse in the casket, than to be the one to give the eulogy concerning the deceased that is being interred. That is how serious glossophobia is. And that's what we're looking at today. So let us look at certain manifestations of the phobias of professional speaking. And there are quite a number of them, and some of us here might have also gone through them. One, some people will say, my voice shakes. If you have ever had your voice shake at any time, please can you show by raise of hand? Anybody? All right, I can see a few hands up. Others are some supermen who never had their voice shake at any point in time, or superwomen. Some other people will say, I become so breathless. I become so breathless. Some other people will say, I forget what I am going to say. There was a client we had some time ago whom we helped to overcome the fear of professional speaking. And this was what she said to us, number two. She said, look, I get so prepared. She's a top executive in an oil and gas organization. And she said, I prepare myself so well. I have all of my I's dotted and my T's crossed. I feel so confident after my preparation. But once I stand before the audience, all of what I've prepared suddenly freezes. And I remember that indeed, perhaps they also came all the way from the village to this presentation. So another manifestation of phobia or public speaking, some people will say, oh, what if I have a technical glitch? What if my demonstration or my PowerPoint or my video doesn't work? Now, that is first in the mind. As you will later realize as we go along, the greatest fear of professional speaking begins first in the mind before it manifests at your presentation platform. So if you can begin to deal with it in the mind first, you're on your way to overcoming the fear of professional speaking. Some people have said, and it's become a very popular saying, that fear is an acrostic for false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. So anytime you feel that fear, remind yourself, oh, is your voice going to shake today? Are you thinking you're going to be breathless today? Are you thinking you're going to get before your audience and forget what you want to say today? Is there going to be a technical glitch today? Will your demonstration go as expected? Or will there be a heckler in the audience? Maybe a friend of yours who wants to make jest of you, who says, come on, keep quiet, what are you saying? Or begins to laugh at you. Remind yourself that fear is an acrostic which says false evidence appearing real. Moving on. For instance, some people are worried about whether anybody laughs about their jokes. That sets in fear into them, whether the audience is flat or unengaging. Some are concerned whether the audience doesn't understand what they are presenting. These are sources of phobia of professional speaking. Some other people think that I am not qualified to be on stage. Who am I? Can I speak on the subject? Will I be taken seriously? Will I be considered as an authority to speak on this subject? Some will say, look, I often speak through my presentation. That is an effect of fear. Furthermore, some people will ask, what if someone asks me a question I don't have an answer to? And I often say in every of my presentation class and other training and executive coaching class, I say as a ground rule, there are 3 answers in this class. There's a yes, there's a no, and there's an I don't have an idea. The reason why people always think that every question has a no or yes answer is because we're being groomed to believe that way. But you can say you don't have an idea. Nobody knows it all. Finally, another manifestation of phobia is some people sweat through their clothing or palms and they begin to wonder what's going on. Let me also quickly say that in addition to these different manifestations of fear of professional speaking, there are levels of these fears. And quickly I present 2 levels of fear of professional speaking. 2 levels. Number 1 fear is the amateur's fear. Amateur. An amateur, you and I can easily understand that it's somebody who is starting out on a particular thing, who is trying to master a particular field, venture, or task. Then secondly, there is the professional sphere. What are the differences between these two? What do they mean? An amateur sphere is largely all of the 10 expressions I listed earlier. An amateur who probably is going to speak before an audience for the first time. What if I fall down and I collapse? What if my tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth? What if I can't get my words out? What if I make a mess of myself? These are the fears that plague an amateur who has never done the business of speaking before an audience before. Or maybe he or she has not done sufficiently over time and he or she doesn't have that confidence. Furthermore, we have what we call the professional sphere. The professional sphere is a fear that is not really a fear, but a feeling in the heart the moment a speaker, a professional speaker, who has mastered the art of the business of the days, or the business of the platform, or the business of the lectern, or the business of the stage to an extent. But, may I say this, when your name is mentioned over the public address system to the audience, there is that tinge of fear in a split second before you take the platform. I don't know whether any of us have ever felt that. As experienced as you are, as they begin to reel out your very impressive resume, there's that momentary shock that your heart goes through. But the moment you take the microphone and take control of the platform and begin to spew out your words, you discover that you just glide with ease. That is the professional sphere. Now, what is different? The amateur who don't know what to do will be scared that the presentation is going to go wrong. But the professional who has mastered what to do only knows that all I need to do is just to release the first word and I glide with ease. So please let us differentiate these two fears. And let me quickly also say this. There is never a time in the history of your speaking career, and I don't intend to sound like a prophet of doom pontificating evil on a Saturday evening. There is never it, and I speak this from my experience of speaking for over 2 decades. There is never a time that you be totally free from this fear that we're talking about. But what will differentiate you from the other person is how professional or how proficient you are already in the art and the act of professional speaking. How do we overcome the fear of professional speaking? Let us first look quickly at the psychology of dealing with professional speaking fear. Please let us understand that the fear begins in the mind first. So it's a psychological thing. Take note of the operative word. We're talking about overcoming the fear of public speaking. But you can't overcome until you deal with it. It has to be dealt with. It is in the mind first. 90% of the fear of professional speaking is in the mind. There is a research that says 92% of what we fear has not happened and will not happen. 92% of what we often fear in life, in personal, professional, and public life has not happened and will not happen. So, number one, understanding your mind first as a psychology to dealing with the fear of professional speaking, that it is normal to feel nervous. And I can tell you, everybody does feel nervous. There was a speech, a renowned speaker and leader around the world, the 44th president of America, Barack Obama. He said, I am tensed right now. So there is nobody who doesn't get scared. It is normal to feel nervous if you do feel so. Secondly, understand also psychologically that your audience won't necessarily notice your fear except you tell them that, oh, I'm shaking right now. I'm nervous right now. Just do your thing. Do not spew out the beans. Number three, understand we're talking about the psychology of dealing. You've got to deal with it in your mind first. Every battle of life is first won in the mind. If you can't win in your mind, then you can't win in life. So there's a psychology around this fear. Number three, use methods to exhibit confidence. Walk around, smile. I often tell our participants at our sessions during coaching that, look, the first thing you want to do to win an audience within the first 5 seconds of standing before an audience, when you suddenly forget your lines, when everything suddenly freezes, or you're scared, your heart is thumping, is to smile. Behind that feverish, fearful, nervous smile is a portrayal of confidence to your audience. And what do we say? Human beings mirror themselves. When you smile to the world, they smile with you. Number four, leverage the assumption. Take note, it's an assumption. Leverage the assumption that the speaker is expected to know more than those who are seated. Hence, he is a speaker. It doesn't mean it's correct, but it is an assumption that he that is standing to speak for an audience must know something that the people who are seated don't know. Hence, he's the speaker. So leverage that mentality that there is something you have to offer your audience. There is something they don't know, or either they need to be reminded, because when first century illiterate, according to Alvin Toffler, is not the one who hasn't gone to school, but the one who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Number five, leverage the assumption that most members of your audience await direction from your presentation. Yes, they may already know some things about what you even want to say. Yes, some of you, the things you may want to say may be a reminder, but it may be a new perspective. So leverage that assumption. Let that give you confidence that your audience are hanging on whatever you say from your mouth. Please work with this psychology and it will help you. Now let's dive into overcoming the fear itself. Number one, please, I will be sharing with you principles I have used and has worked for me over the years, and they continue to work. I've shared with our clients and they brought back amazing feedback. Number one, never refuse an opportunity to speak. I repeat, never refuse an opportunity to speak. In my 20-something years of professionally speaking, I have not had the first unfortunate privilege to say no to a speaking engagement. As long as it is not clashing with another already scheduled commitment, I am going to go to speak. You know why? Every opportunity to speak is an opportunity to build your confidence, polish your skill, and become better at this craft. Every opportunity, whether it's a formal opportunity, an informal opportunity, as mundane as speaking before 5 members of your family, at a morning devotion. As seemingly simple as addressing your neighbors in an estate landlord association's meeting, or your alumni in your colleagues' monthly or quarterly meeting. Please never refuse an opportunity to speak. Why? Overcoming the fear of professional speaking will not happen overnight. It will happen over time. So you've got to keep at it. Every opportunity you have, cherish it. And that's why I must say that I appreciate the privilege to be asked to speak today, and I must thank Madam President and all the members of the executive of our club. When I was told that I'm going to speak, I just must go by my principle. Never refuse an opportunity to speak. You know why? This opportunity is helping me to better my craft. There is something I'm adding in my knowledge to this session, which I'm going to take away. Number two, in addition to never refusing an opportunity to speak, you must overcome the fear of professional speaking. Take a training. Many want to reign today. Sadly, they don't want to train. But until you train, you can't be trailed. The reason why people will ask you to speak is because they know you have something to offer. I want to imagine, with all sense of humility, that the reason why I was given this honor by Madam President and our executive is because perhaps they believe that there is something I can share that will help us. And we all can mutually grow. So please, train up so that you can reign. Get into a course. Go for workshop. Come for online webinars like this. Take a seminar. Take a course. Most importantly, very helpful, join Toastmasters. Number three, learn the basics. Every presentation has basics. There is an introduction to every presentation, whether it's a talk, a toast, a professional presentation, a technical report, a keynote address, an annual general report. There is a body and there is a conclusion. Alternatively, there is a situation, there's a deliberation or discussion, and there's a resolution. There are always, every presentation is a tripartite presentation. So learn the basics. Number four, I beg your pardon. In addition to never refuse an opportunity to speak, take a training, a workshop, a seminar, a course, or join Toastmasters. Please, you might have noticed that in number 2, I did not say read a book. Whilst it is good to read a book, nobody learns speaking by reading. You learn speaking by speaking. That is why the Toastmaster strategy and style is very, very helpful. Learning by doing. Learn the basics. Get a mentor. Somebody knows what you don't know. Somebody sees what you don't see. Somebody has achieved what you are trying to achieve. So get a mentor. In addition, learn from other great speakers. May I quickly mention to you that, do you know that President Barack Obama has a speech coach? Do you know that many of the notable names we can ever think of in public or professional speaking have speech coaches? Any star player has a star coach. So if you want to be a star at overcoming the fear of professional speaking, get a mentor, get a coach, learn from other great speakers. 5, learn from each speaking experience. Remember, every opportunity to speak is an opportunity to build your confidence, polish your skill, and become a better person at this craft. What do I mean by learning from every experience? I'll give you my personal, very helpful example. Over the years, because in addition to speaking, as a polymath, a quintessential polymath, I also have interest in other fields of life. So I'm privileged to have knowledge, skill, expertise in other areas. One of it is acting. So I write every of my scripts for speaking training like a drama script. So I give myself a cue where I'm supposed to smile, where I'm supposed to raise my voice, where I'm supposed to raise my hand, where I'm supposed to move to stage right or stage left or wing or pause. So I follow religiously all of those guides when I'm presenting. When I finish, I go back to do what I call, as I will do after today's presentation, what I call PPA, post-presentation analysis. I look at what I have written down and I said I was going to do during the presentation. And I look at what I presented. Because somebody has rightly said that there are more than one speeches that you will ever give. The speech you prepared, the one you intended, the one you gave, and the one you actually gave. Did you get that? The speech you prepared, the one you intended, the one you gave, and the one you actually gave. But there's no how you can know these 4 categories of speeches if you don't go back to do what I call post-presentation analysis. For the past close to 20 years that I discovered this secret, I've always gone back to do post-presentation analysis. What do I do during this ritual? I write on a sheet of paper 3 columns. One on the left, I write all the things I said I was going to do during that presentation. The second column, I write all the things I did not do that I was supposed to do. The third column, I write the reasons why I didn't do them. And I create a fourth column. How could I improve next time? The fourth column is a combination of the first column and how I could have improved, whether I wasted time in stressing a point, or I used a story I shouldn't use, or I got carried away when I saw the applause. These are things that I note for the next presentation, and they form a module. They form a model, rather, or a blueprint for the next presentation. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how I've been improving till today. A great person said, success is comparing your standards with others, but excellence is setting a standard for yourself based on your potential. I would ask you, set a standard for every of your presentation, as I do, so that you can go back to do post-presentation analysis. That is the only way to keep improving. As I close, if you must also overcome the fear of public speaking, let's take these final tips. Number 1, I said favorably, practice, practice, practice. The tripartite force of an excellent presentation. Practice, practice, practice. The tripartite force of an excellent presentation. Why should you practice? I have this for you, ladies and gentlemen. Because to stand before an audience or your audience without a well-prepared presentation is an abuse of your audience. Especially if you earn your living from speaking, as I do, and some of us may do. Even if you don't. Because it's an abuse of the audience. To stand before your audience without a well-prepared presentation is an abuse of your audience. May I mention to you that today's presentation was bespokely prepared even after so number of decades of speaking for this presentation. I've never given this presentation anywhere in the world, specially prepared for this webinar. Why? I understand that to stand before my audience without being well prepared is an abuse of my audience. And my professional training will not allow me to do that. Lastly, no matter the quantum, or rather your quantum of experience, lack of proper preparation can floor you before your audience. One of the reasons why people are plagued by the fear is because they're not well prepared. When there is a level of confidence that you are infused with, and you speak with so much confidence, polish, poise, and panache, because you are well prepared. So no matter your quantum of experience, lack of proper preparation can floor you before your audience. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been around a few days in this business of the lectern, the stage, the days, and I've seen the best of speakers make the worst of mistakes when they are not prepared, when they rely only on their experience. Because preparation will always supersede experience. Our time is well spent, but let me just leave this with us. 10 simple ways to command ovation with every presentation. Number 1, speak on the topic you know very well. Number 2, start with a compelling opening. Number 3, start with a purpose. Number 4, break your ideas into parts. Number 5, use illustrations and clear examples. Number 6, engage your audience with rich information. 7, tell your listeners what they stand to benefit. Everybody's looking for what is in it for me. Number 8, connect with your audience. 9, speak audibly and put some fire in your voice. I hope I've put some fire in my voice ever since. Number 10, and finally, present veritable facts. Ladies and gentlemen, any question?
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Oladele Olunike.
You're welcome.
Everyone will agree with me that this has been a very insightful session.
It has, absolutely. Where is the applause? I
Okay, okay,
wish
so
applause.
honestly, at least if not for anything, for me, it added some fire to my own voice, you know. I learned a
Good
lot.
to know.
Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Oladele Olunike.
You're welcome.
So we'll be moving on to questions for all that we have learned, to be able to infuse this knowledge into us in our daily activities, it will be good we throw out our questions, concerns, such that the speaker will be able to address those particular concerns in a way that fits what we would like to understand. So if we have any questions, please let's say it now.
I have a question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I have a question.
Okay.
Can I go ahead, Iski?
Go ahead, please. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, my question is, thank you, my president, able president all the time.
Immediate past president, actually.
Yes, always there for me. Now, my question is very straightforward. I want to know, how do I balance practice, and try to deliver a quality presentation and do many at the same time? You know, when you practice too much, they say you are prolonging. You shall be in presentation 10, you are still doing 2 because you are practicing. How many times do you practice before you do your presentation?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that question. Our moderator, Toastmaster Chikwedo, how do we want to answer the question? Do we take it all in one fell swoop or one after the other?
Okay, I think let's take it all in one fell swoop. Okay, so do we have other questions? So the presenter can take them all together. Other questions, please. They are welcome.
Yeah. Good evening, Mr. Oladele.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you very much for the excellent presentation. I'd like to find out what the requirement is to, I mean, if you had joined Toastmasters at a point and you had to leave because you had some other content and you want to come back, what's the process like?
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm going to leave that question for our team that are in charge of moderating the meeting. So you will get to know that at the end of the meeting. Is that okay, sir? Mr. Tona?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for your question.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tona. Do we have other questions?
I do. I have a question.
Okay,
yes,
go ahead, Madam President.
My question is rehearsing the same thing as preparing? And this is why I ask. Is it the same thing when you rehearse? Okay, so rehearsal is a form of preparation, I know. However, sometimes in rehearsing, people find out that they are cramming, or they are they are cramming so that they can recite what they have rehearsed. And then a lot of times you forget one part of what you have crammed, and then you can't continue your presentation anymore. I believe that it should be fluid and it should be able to flow. So where is the balance between rehearsing while preparing?
Thank you very much, Madam President, for that very practical question.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other
Madam
questions?
President? Yeah.
I do have a question. Theo Adewale, another call.
It's good to have you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. Immediate past President Toastmaster Oladele Olunike. Thanks for taking us through that very exciting presentation. My question, you are a professional speaker and we are always delighted to learn from you.
Thank you, sir.
How will you describe the use of prompters, you know, in professional speaking? What does it do? I hear even former President Barack Obama uses prompter every time. Take us through the use of prompters. How does it help me to speak? And from your own experience, how useful is a prompter when you are making an open speech or presentation?
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, so do we have any other questions, or do we proceed with answering the questions? Any other questions in the house? Okay, we take that to mean that we can proceed. DTM Oladele, please proceed.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. The first question from Toastmaster Iskill. Practice. When is my practice too long? Such that I've practiced, I've become, in quotes, so paralyzed that I can't even give the speech. And people are saying you're still on speech number 2. Now, not every speech is like a work of art, a painting. It is never perfect. That's why at Toastmasters, we give evaluations. But you must develop your presentation to a level that is satisfactory for this stage. Sometimes, some of us, based on our makeup, when I say makeup, based on our temperament, and I don't mean to say this negatively, some of us are perfectionists. Some temperaments are disposed to being perfect. And there's nothing wrong in wanting to be excellent. But you must know that you set a timeline to deliver your presentation. There is no point at which you will have it in quote, perfect without any addition. You know why? As I said, every speech is like a work of art. When an artist who painted a Mona Lisa yesterday looks at it the next day, he or she, or rather, he finds something else he wants to add. The same way it is with speeches. Today, I'm privileged to look at some speeches I gave some years ago. Because I've added new knowledge, I've polished my skills more, I have more expertise and experience. That speech looks like a kindergarten speech. I see loopholes on where I can improve. So where you are at the moment, deliver that speech and move on. You realize that the more you are able to deliver at the level of the peak of your knowledge at that time and expertise, you gradually get better. Because if you're waiting for that perfection without sounding like a prophet of doom pontificating evil on a Saturday evening, it may not come. So practice the much you can, set goals, timelines, deliver that speech, move to the next thing. Remember, in the presentation we just gave, learn something from every speech. What can you improve upon? What did you do that you ought not to have done? What could you have done better? All these things are very important. Does that answer your question, Toastmaster Iskil?
Thank you, sir.
All right. Then, Madam President, how do I differentiate between rehearsing and preparing? You understand that rehearsing is part of preparing. Some people cram and they forget. What do you do? Very practical question. The first thing I would like to say, which I've said to a lot of our colleagues in the speaking, training, and executive coaching industry is this. Be first the example of what you want to teach. Again, be first the example of what you want to teach. In addition, have a personal result in the area of the thing you want to talk about. That is why at Toastmasters, we begin by icebreakers. We talk about ourselves, our own personal results. When you are talking about what is about you, for instance, you're talking about how you did your master's, how you got your MBA, how you started your first business, how you bought your first bicycle, or how you bought your first dog. You can't forget such a thing. Remember, in the 10 simple ways to command ovation with every presentation that I just gave towards the end of my presentation, the number one was speak on a subject you know so well. When you begin with a subject you know so well, a subject you have expertise in, maybe by years of study or practice or personal results, your speech flows from you naturally after rehearsal, even though you need to write your speech word for word and rehearse it. You will not need to cram it. For instance, if this presentation I delivered today, if suddenly there's a glitch, I am prepared to deliver this presentation extemporaneously because I know what it is to teach people how to overcome fear. I know how I've overcome the fear of speaking myself. So find a subject you have passion in, flair in, result in, a subject that resonates with you, that you have a story you can tug in somewhere else. Because I often say that when principles are forgotten by your audience, stories shared will convey the message to your audience. And that's why stories are very important. When principles that you taught in your presentations are forgotten by your audience, the stories you shared to embellish your presentation, to convey your principles, will be remembered. And that clicks in the principles. So, 1, share on something you know very well, you have results in. 2, rehearse. 3, if you can, I must say this quickly also, without belaboring this matter, some people learn differently. Some people are good at cramming their speeches, it works for them. Some don't. So you know what works for you. If you cram, if you think you can cram word for word, why not? If you think cramming you forget, then bond as much as possible with your speech. What does it mean to bond? Read it whilst you're rehearsing without first learning the lines, which we call dry run in acting. Then learn the lines, know the milestones of your speeches, have keywords per paragraph. So If you forget a specific word, you can improvise with a similar or synonym and you go on. You don't lose the plot of your presentation. Madam President, does it make sense?
It makes it.
Does it sufficiently answer your question, ma'am?
It does sufficiently answer the question. Thank you very much. The only thing I would say is in delivery, for instance, within the Toastmasters program, in delivering certain projects, for instance, within the first 10 speech projects, so in delivering maybe the research project, sometimes it might go beyond what you know, but again, bonding with your speech could be where the solution is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Then, just to further agree with you, when you need to deliver a presentation, give room for preparation for a long period. I say this because I'm privileged to be a mentor to quite a number of people across Nigerian Toastmasters clubs. I have seen people who want to deliver their speeches at the shortest time without ample preparation. Remember what I said? To stand before your audience without proper preparation is an abuse of your audience. Remember again what I said? No matter your quantum of experience, lack of proper preparation, proper is the key word, can floor you before your audience. The last question for today from Toastmaster Theophilus Onodeko. Use of prompters. Prompters are good visual aids. We may remember in Project 8 of the Competent Communication Manual, we're taught on visual aids, use of visual aids. Of course, prompters are relevant. Usually, prompters are used when the speech to be delivered is long and the speaker wants to give an impression that he or she is not reading his or her speech. If you have noticed, there's an art, there's a skill about using prompters. The fact that you have a prompter is like that screen before you, like your computer, a monitor, from a distance, where your script, the script of your presentation are legible enough, the letters are legible enough for you to see. Now, there is a way the prompter operator follows you as you deliver your presentation. But it does not take away bonding again with your presentation, because when you bond with your presentation, you will not be tempted to read from the prompter, but you talk your speech. Is a different thing entirely. You talk your speech using a conversational tone, and that bonds more with your audience. So for instance, you can ad-lib. In other words, you can add some things to buttress a point that may not be necessarily in the lines of the speech. But if you've not done that bonding session, you will be forced to read from your prompter and it could be mechanical. We've seen leaders of nations who have done that, and they are not real. They are not real because when you use your prompter, you need to also gain eye contact. Some of us might have noticed when some leaders use prompters to address the nation, it looks awkward because they are looking at a different angle from the direction of your own gaze. It is because they are not looking directly to the camera, the center focus of the camera that is before them. Rather, they are focusing on the prompter. And again, it is also possible that the prompter was not well aligned with the focal point or focal length of the camera. There should be that alignment such that when the person who is using prompter is using it and you're watching from home on TV, you will think he or she is just talking to you. But very importantly, whether you use a prompter or not, you must still bond with your speech. It's important to mention, as we teach, that you are your presentation. Your PowerPoint, your notes, your prompter is only a supporting aid. You must prepare for when, don't think of evil. We often say that prepare for the best, expect the worst. Whatever happens, make the most of it. Because sometimes glitches will happen. Your laptop will develop a mind of its own. Internet will not work. Your flash drive may not be compatible with the laptop or the computer of your client where you're going to deliver your presentation. What do? Do you give an excuse to give the presentation another day when you are walking away with a check after the presentation? Hopefully. So please understand that you are your presentation. Master your presentation, bond with your presentation, own your presentation. Then when you deliver it, It becomes effortless. You deliver with flourish. You deliver with grace to the admiration of all. And they will reward you with three things. Number one, ovation, recommendation. The last one, you will like it, remuneration. I love that.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you very much, distinguished Oladele.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, and thank you everyone for the questions you shared. I believe this has made this session even more personal. We've learned a lot more because what we've learned now is not just from the slides, but from the application to our own personal affairs. I now hand over the floor to our Madam President to give us closing remarks and announcements.
Thank you
Madam
very much, Master Chukwudum. Thank you for your facilitation. I enjoyed it. And
Thank you.
thank you so much to our distinguished Toastmaster, immediate past President Oladele Olunike. Thank you for always coming through. Thank you for your support. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you to our guests. I can see a number of people joined us in this meeting. It's been a long time since we saw Toastmaster Adewale on Oladeko. It's nice to see you, sir. Thank you, Toastmaster Iskill, our Vice President Education, and our guest. Sona, do you want to introduce yourself since we don't know your name?
I'm Tony Alex Eitona. Coincidentally, Oladele was meant to be my mentor while I was with Toastmasters. But I had some commitment which had made me leave at that time. I had to go back to school, and I'm done with school now, so I'm thinking of getting back. And
Fantastic.
I hope you'll be gracious enough to accept me back.
There's always room for you, sir. Miss, I'm not interested in mentoring him anymore.
I'm sorry?
Maybe
it's a question to me.
Yes, it is.
All right. Thank you, Madam President. Is Toastmaster Alex Eaton sounding like a prodigal son? just say. But let me assure you that at Eagle Toastmasters, our arms are always open. Whenever
Absolutely.
it is you're returning, we will be most delighted to receive you. And it's so lovely to have you.
Thank you.
Yes, it's lovely to have you join us. Please come to the meeting in October. We would happily take you on and continue where you left us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right. There's also a Toby in the room. Hi, Toby. I don't think we know you. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Toby. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, we can.
Okay. Steven invited me, and I'm really glad I joined.
Oh, we loved having you. Thank you. Hello, Steven. We can't see your face, but hope you are doing well. All right. Thank you to everyone for joining again. So we have got past our time. We're supposed to have closed at 7. So quickly close the meeting. Our theme for this month has been one that stands out very well. It's commonplace with everyone who wants to speak. A lot of times we are afraid. So this month we are doing everything we can to conquer that fear and be the best versions of ourselves. So thank you. Even today's topic was meant to address this concern of fear, and I thank Toastmaster Oladele again for doing justice to that. I learned a great deal. When I was trying to achieve my CC, I did it in 4 years. Why? Because I always turn down opportunities to speak. Whenever the Vice President Education asked me to speak, I would always say no. I'm not ready. My speech is not ready. One thing or the other, but there's no better way of learning than doing. You learn to speak by speaking. That is one important thing. There's no better way to put it than to say that practice makes perfect. It's an old time quote, but it's very true. It stands very true. So our club is Eagle Toastmasters Club. We are the premier Toastmasters club in Nigeria. In December of this year, we will be 12 years old, and we are doing great things as we go along. We meet every first and second Saturday at a hotel and suites by 10 o'clock in the morning. It's a 2-hour meeting. And then on the third Saturdays of every month, we spend 1 hour online, just like we have here, learning great things and bonding, virtually bonding. So I urge you to join us at our coming